Welcome to this week's edition of the Commercial Real Estate 101 Meetup, everybody. For those of you who don't know, I'm Logan Hartle. I'm going to be guest hosting today. I have the privilege and the blessing to guest host. Raphael is actually going to be, he's out with family and friends on a well-deserved vacation. So I'm going to be hosting. I'm really excited for our interview today. Aviva Sonenreich, and I should have asked that before we started, but did I pronounce that right?
Pretty much.
Okay. What is the action? How would I say it?
Yeah, it's Aviva. I really
Aviva.
just prefer to go by Aviva. And
Aviva.
My last name, I say Sonenreich, but
Sonenreich. Okay.
other family members would say it differently. So that's why.
We're going to go with what you want. We're going to go with what you want. So, well, I appreciate it. Aviva, just to start out, if you could just give us a little bit about your background, where you grew up and how you kind of got into the whole real estate game.
Sure. So the story doesn't start with me. My grandparents immigrated to America in 1950, fleeing Nazi Germany, where they lost almost all of their family to Hitler's regime. True immigrant story. Came to America, worked super hard, and landed in their first duplex. Duplex became a triplex. And all of a sudden there was a warehouse in 1984. And my father really took a liking to warehousing and went on to syndicate a portfolio of warehouses between 1999 to 2015. And this is all in Denver. At a time, a very historic time in warehousing because of the legalization of cannabis. So I started working in the business, I'd say 7 or 8 years ago, and just immediately fell in love with our family business and warehousing. And in my search for finding the beachfront property in Malibu, our version of that, because I realize it's not warehouses, and it is warehouses, but it ain't the beachfront. Yeah. I feel like what we're doing right now, talking online and having a digital presence in commercial real estate, is our beachfront property in Malibu in 2023. So yeah, and I do have a brokerage. I have a brokerage called the Warehouse Hotline. That's my little emblem.
There you go.
And so we lease and manage my old man's portfolio, and then I do third-party brokerage in the warehouse space exclusively. So
excellent.
That's me.
Awesome. Well, we share that because I'm an industrial broker here in the Charlotte market, so we share that asset class. So that's awesome. So, I appreciate you giving us a little bit of the background there. What got you into the family business? So was there a time when you're like, this, you've decided like I'm doing this? Were you always going that way, or was there something before that you switched out of, or tell us about that?
I was a DJ for like 10 years. I got to play all over the world. It was sweet. Cool. And I really learned how to market as a DJ, but I also didn't want to keep working in a restaurant. So I started working in real estate, DJing, and eventually my passions, what made me authentically happy happened to be real estate more than the music. And so I jumped in. It was my first thing out of college, aside from working in a restaurant. So look, I grew up, my mom was a dentist and my dad worked in real estate. And I saw how my mom had to go to work from 8 to 5. And if she wasn't there, she wasn't making money. And that lady worked so hard. And then I saw my dad, who figured out a system where he didn't have to work as hard and could also be successful. So seeing that growing up, understanding working with your brain as opposed to your back is just what works best for me.
Yeah. Very cool. No, I had a similar entry point. My dad owned some apartment buildings, and so I, from a very young age, was helping him, clean out toilets and replace flooring and all that fun stuff. So I got to see that fun side of it. But then as I started to become a little bit older, in 18, 19, I was, was asking him, hey, Dad, why do you do this? Why are we doing this stuff on the weekends? This isn't fun. Why do you do this? And so then he started to, teach me a little bit about, here's what's going on here. Here's why we're doing this in the retirement and the passive income, supposedly passive, but, and he's done very well for himself in that space. And so I'm with you. I kind of fell in love with real estate, at that age. I was around high school when later in high school when I fell in love with real estate, but been a passion of mine ever since.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's kind of your entry point into this. For those of you, I'm sure everybody here is excited to talk about the social side of things that you do, because you've got a huge following on social. So as I looked yesterday, I think, and if these numbers are wrong, correct me, but I think you have about 41,000 Instagram followers and 1.1 million TikTok followers. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are numbers that would make anybody here envious. So if you could kind of walk us through, why social? What got you started? You jumped into the commercial real estate game with your family and just kind of fell in love with that game. But why social? What took you there?
Okay, interesting. Why social?
Yeah.
First and foremost, in commercial real estate, the competition when you're posting on social media is almost non-existent. Like, it's the most ridiculous advantage right in front of our faces that brokerages have stigmatized to be a negative, to be something negative. And then they bring up these young brokers with bad habits, not posting terrible content. And it was like, I felt like social media was like the layup in front of, and I felt like LeBron the other night. Anyway, so it is so obvious that our storefronts are now digital storefronts, and our brand, I talk about beachfront property in Malibu. I feel like posting content about commercial real estate on social media is buying beachfront property in Malibu when it was cheap, because we're compounding. It's nothing but compounding content and visibility, and I get a ton of clients from it. So if it works, and it's free, that's the crazy part.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's something. I agree with you. You don't see much of it. You don't see many commercial brokers out there really doing it well. So I was excited to get to interview you and check out. I looked at a lot of I started following you on all your socials and everything, and it's you do it very well. And I think everybody here is excited to learn about that and learn, kind of how you got started in that journey that you've been on to get here. I guess I have to ask a question. When you first started, and I think a lot of people who may not be putting themselves out there on social, I see you do a lot of video. Were you scared to get in front of the camera when you first got started?
Sure, right, definitely. But what I would say to that is, even if you are afraid to get on the camera, there are other ways to get amazing visibility and clients online right now in commercial real estate. Twitter, like, you don't need to do one face post. Go on Twitter if you have the gift of gab, and you can do really well. So yes, of course, it's intimidating to do it online, make the videos, and it's awkward, and but everybody thinks it's cringe until it works, and then they think it's cool.
Yep.
And that's why that's how great things happen. So
yeah,
it's just like, I understand that the more you give when you post on social media, ultimately the more you get. But people are so short-sighted with their content. They just want to post, I just sold this is under contract. That content doesn't benefit anybody, and nobody cares about it. And so it doesn't work very well. Maybe it works a little. However, providing valuable information about whatever you're talking about to the viewer, and focusing on what they care about as opposed to yourself, creates a relationship, and it creates this, they'll follow you. They don't want to follow you if you're posting garbage content. Well, that's why nobody, anyway, that's why nobody posts in the first place, because it's bad content. It doesn't work. Anyway, I could talk about that all day. What I would say is just authentically,
Yeah.
the best converting content is your authentic stories that add value to the person on the other side of the screen.
Yeah.
I have just found in our industry, it works really well.
So talk to me a little bit about that. Like what do you mean by authentic, and what would be a good example of that?
A perfect example, no, like I'm saying my own example is perfect. Here's an example. There is a woman, her name's Beth Azor. She is a badass retail investor broker out of Florida. Some of you guys have to know her because she's the coolest. She started getting on Twitter and just talking through deals and deal structures, being a general partner or a limited partner in the past, and how the deal went. And she's getting like the craziest commercial real estate visibility I've seen on Twitter because she's just telling the details of a deal, and people want to know, people want to learn. And so I find, like, obviously when we post on social media, we have to operate within the confines of confidentiality, right? Like it's a really touchy thing in our industry. And so I'm always telling stories from the like deep into the past because I don't want to say anything that would compromise my clients, obviously.
Sure.
But telling simple stories about showings or mistakes or wins that add value on the other end, just come back tenfold. But it's a long game too. But commercial real estate is a long game.
Sure.
So if you want that quick flip, the quick buck, the quick hit, and then on to the next, commercial real estate is not for you. Sorry, my cat just.
Yeah, I saw a tail. I think that's what that.
Commercial real estate's a long game, and so is posting on social media. So, I see way too many people where it's like 4 TikToks or 4 tweets or 4 posts and no results, and so they shut down and they're done. But the reality is like this is the long game. I didn't start getting good social media leads until I was consistently posting online for 2 years.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, is how long did it take you to build this? And 2 years is a long time. I mean, you got to commit to that.
Oh yeah. Hey, there's a need for it. There's a desperate need and a want to learn this information. Like, you and I are the perfect example of like everything that's wrong with commercial real estate. Why? Because our parents did it, right? So we're that Nepo baby that everybody's losing their mind over. Well, guess what? The playing field is getting leveled because of the internet, and people have access, but it has historically been so gate kept. There's not a lot of information about it. More is happening. Right? As much as we're Nepo babies, we're also trying to help other people escape, to help other people learn about the industry. Sure. So it's the opportunity, but there's just a lot of opportunity in our field, specifically on the digital front, and it excites me a lot. Yeah,
for sure. And I think you're hitting on a really good subject there for everyone listening. You look at the people who have the biggest followings and the biggest social, they're educators, right? That's what they do, and they're providing educational content. I know that I've seen some of your videos, and you like to also be entertaining with being educational. So how do you find that balance of entertaining and fun and quirky with educational?
What's funny, and I have gotten this objection. I don't know if I'm necessarily answering your question, but I get this objection in commercial real estate with social media that it needs to be polished, right? Like, we're a suit and tie industry, and when I post to social media, I don't want to be in sweatpants and then talking about commercial real estate. And then that creates this snowball of never doing anything, because I am never 100% camera ready when I post, because when it comes to posting on social, like, it has to be authentic. If people, and that can be in video form, in written word, if it's not authentic, people will smell you out in a second and swipe away, period. Yep. So to my authentic self is literally being in sweatpants around my house with my cats doing deals. And that's where I make my content. And it's just authentic. I just like it. If you
Yeah.
don't like what you do or you're talking about on the internet, it's not going to work. It's just not a long-term. It's not going to work for the long term because it's way too difficult, just to be honest. But
Yeah.
if you like what you do, then it's not hard to just talk about it.
No, it's a good point. That's a good point. I actually, in a previous life, I had a media company, and we had a really cool old manufacturing business. It was my background. So I spent about 10 years in manufacturing. Part of that, I had my own manufacturing company, really cool business. And we actually hired one of our buddies to come on board and kind of be a video content creator. And the most engagement we got out of all of that were the silly videos. We would do like just these off the wall, silly, crazy videos. And we did a balance of that and education about our business and the stuff that we were doing. But people fell in love with the quirky, silly stuff. And it's that entertainment factor. And we tried to find that balance of educate and entertain. And I think that's such a delicate balance, because if you're out there and you're talking about commercial real estate, but you're monotone and you just sound like this and you're saying all the right, it's boring. Nobody's going to follow you, right? But you know, and you can't just be silly. We had a ton of goofy stuff that it literally had nothing to do with our business, and people loved it. But it was engaging, and I think to that point, it was authentic in that we weren't scared to put ourselves out there. We weren't scared to be like, look, in general, we were a couple of goofy guys that were good at what we did, but we like to be goofy, and I think people related to that. But yeah, I think that's spot on. I mean, authenticity is just so critical.
I learned this thing about marketing. I don't know how, I'll explain. Think about Justin Bieber. Justin came up and he was the sweetest boy. You know, he was every girl's, I don't even know. I'm a little old for that, but he was the good boy. And then all of a sudden, Justin went bad boy, right? Whatever happened, and then the drugs, and then the image and the tattoos. He did a complete change, and it made all of his fans, he did exactly the opposite of what everybody was expecting, and it made all of his fans double down on him. And it made him even bigger. When you talk about marketing, specifically something that's like commercial real estate, there's an expectation that it's going to be polished. And if you do the exact opposite of what people expect you to do, it has a really profound impact, and it just makes people care more. So when you're talking about commercial real estate content on social media, you're saying people like the funnier ones better. It's because it's not what they expect from commercial real estate content.
Sure.
And it's a really interesting theory that I am always trying to work with. Let me give you an example on the brokerage end. I noticed every brokerage in town is last name, color scheme. That's the brand. That's not a brand.
Yeah.
I don't care if your brand is not going to be ethics. That's everybody's brand. Okay. I know, like I've had this conversation. So I created a company called the Warehouse Hotline. What's the Warehouse Hotline? It's a brokerage that, instead of having a company that was my last name, which didn't tell me anything, or there was no brand, creating that brand in commercial real estate. Now I get inbound phone calls all day long for only warehouses, which is exactly what I wanted, because I made my company a brand of, telling the customer what it is. And it's just completely transformed my brokerage business. So branding and marketing are, in this industry, are so untapped. There's just a lot of opportunity, and it's very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's why everybody's here. They want to learn more about it and how to dive into it. So, diving into TikTok specifically, I know you've got a huge following on TikTok. So can you walk us through that process of how you went from 0 to 1.1 million followers and growing? What was that like? And can you walk us through that?
Absolutely. I always have my ear to the ground trying to figure out where the next motion in the ocean is in terms of, that's why I'm like pushing you guys on Twitter right now, because that's where the best free visibility is in our industry in this very, like today. But everybody was talking. I started hearing rumblings about Musically, whatever. We all go into the pandemic, phone stops ringing for 3 months. At first I was taking videos of my cat, and then I had one of my best friends called me and was like, what are you doing? You need to post videos about your work. You have no competition. With the cat, you have a ton of competition. With your work, there's very few people talking about it. And that was like the light bulb that put me on the internet. But it's all a matter of just researching the algorithms, keeping your ear to the ground, seeing what your habits are as a consumer of social media. Am I consuming TikToks all the time? Okay, maybe so odds are a lot of people are consuming TikTok. You're gonna find a video of some guy telling you exactly what to do to pop off on said platform in that moment. So studying algorithms is big.
So you had mentioned earlier that there's a ton of you're getting a lot of clients from social media right now. I think a lot of people would have interest. Is there a percentage you could give us of your percentage of your business that you're getting from social versus other platforms?
No, I would say just because, like, what would you say the odds of a deal that you start to finish? What are the odds of that closing?
Oof, my goodness. In today's market, even lower.
Right.
20, 30%, 40% maybe. Yeah.
Okay. I say 80% of the deals we start, we don't finish for any reason, right?
Yep.
So understanding those odds, it's kind of impossible to calculate, like,
sure
what works on. But somebody told me if I worked in commercial real estate for 10 years, once you hit the 10-year mark as a broker, enough people know you and trust you that it's like you really just got to put in those first 10 years to start the snowball effect for referrals and stuff like that. And the internet just gives you that ability to quite literally ram it down everybody's throat in the interim.
Yeah.
And it literally works. Just talking about commercial real estate on the internet, you're talking to your friends and family. These are your future customers and their referrals. It's just very natural. But it's just, you can't calculate it. You lose your mind trying to calculate it.
Yeah. Speaking of things that could make you lose your mind, I think a lot of people look at this and see, okay, if I'm going to be posting every day, I have to edit stuff. This is going to take a huge amount of time. What's that look like, the management of your social media presence? Like, how much time would you say you commit to that on a daily, weekly, whatever it is basis?
Oh man, I don't know. Hard to say. Everybody has different strategies and ways that they create content. I try to put in like 30 minutes to an hour a day.
Okay.
And that's a good day. But some people batch content. There's a lot of ways to do it.
Sure.
And schedule it. I also want to try to reply to a lot of people's comments. And so that's really more time consuming for me than creating it. But
yeah. Is there, do you have you gotten to the point where you're looking to bring somebody on to help you with that side of it? The answering comments and replying?
I do have I have an online business manager. I have a VA. I try to do my own comments just because it's that my VA would not have any idea what to say.
Sure. Well, like you said, authentic.
Yeah, it just has to be authentic. But I have a team. They help me stay organized.
Well, we're getting to that 35-minute mark. I want to make sure I'm cognizant of your time, and I want to give everybody else a chance to answer questions. So I'm going to ask one more, and then I'm going to open it up to everybody else. So I guess what would be, if you can give one piece of advice for someone who's not using social right now for their real estate business, but wants to get into it? What's your one piece of advice?
What is my one piece of advice? Other people's opinions of you and your work don't matter. And just being your true self will be the most converting thing you can do. A lot of people don't post because they're afraid of other people's opinions. And I'm not allowed to say the words I feel about those on censored places. No, I think that's so silly. So just stop caring what other people think about you and start posting. and you are the only person who is the victim of your excuses. So
I love it. Great advice. All right, so there were some questions back at the top coming through. I think there's one when my internet cut out and I came back in, I lost one of them, but I think there was a question about if you could do anything different from now to move that needle a little bit further along, what would you have done?
to move the social media needle
Yeah,
further along?
whether it's the audience or whether it's your reach or maybe to speed things up for you, what would you have done differently to this point?
Probably started a podcast and sooner.
Yeah.
And more on YouTube, podcast and YouTube. And those can go hand in hand. You can record a podcast, videotape yourself doing it. Now you have podcast and YouTube.
You got a lot of content there. You can chop up and use in a lot of different places too. So I like that one. What is your audience on TikTok is one question in the caveat. Retailers?
Well, it's hard. I mean, I work in the warehousing business, guys. Like this is, my clients are plumbers, roofers, electricians. These are not glamorous people who are scrolling TikTok during the day. But look, who my audience is on TikTok, women between the ages of 18 and 35, which I understand is not conducive to commercial real estate, realistically. But you know how many like 65-year-old guys will be like, I saw you on TikTok. I see you on TikTok. And it's like, these people are watching. Like this excuse that our target demographic is not on TikTok will kill your business. Why? Because look at Facebook. Who was Facebook? MySpace. We'll say Facebook. Facebook was for the college kids. And then what happened? All the other young people got on it. And now who's on Facebook? Our parents and our grandparents. These sites mature. So the excuse that it's the wrong demographic or it's too young, you're literally getting in your own way of growing, right? Because when you use that excuse, that's when a social media platform is young and ripe. And that's when you want to get in and get to work, not when Carol's discovered Facebook 10 years later.
Yeah.
The party is already so far departed from Facebook, it's actually starting again because they're that desperate. So don't discount Facebook, but because this is a numbers game. Commercial real estate is a numbers game. Just like your cold calling, just like your mailers, TikTok's the same thing. So posting on social media is the same thing. How do we get our numbers as high as possible to make it as likely as possible to reach the right person?
Love it. I've spent a ton of time in cold calling, so it is a numbers game, and I'm very eager to shift towards more social media because cold calling can be a pain sometimes. So, but yeah. So the next question, sorry, not to divert into cold calling. What type of content works best on Twitter?
Oh man, what type of content works best on Twitter? Something that they can engage back with. So like a commercial real estate question. People are loving that. So like I've been doing that recently because I realize if I ask a question and then people engage, which they've been doing, it gets more visibility. Right? This actually, none of this is super groundbreaking, right? You want the thing with every single social media platform. They want you to keep the viewer looking at your stuff as long as possible, and they will reward you for doing so. If you post crap content that people scroll past really quick, they're not going to show it to more people. If they are counting the metrics. There are metrics when you go through social, and they are figuring out watch time. And the people with the higher watch time get more views. And it's the same thing on Twitter. And a way to increase that is through engagement. A big thing with Twitter and any social media is like, look what's working. Do some research, scroll through, see what's working, recreate it in your own voice. That's a really good way to do that.
Love that strategy. Yeah. Yeah. Because you see it. Like you see what posts are getting likes, you see what content's getting likes, you see what channels are getting the most interaction. So that's a great strategy. I'm going to steal that for myself. That's awesome. We have a few comments here. One says, go harder sooner. I think that was in response to what you would have done differently, or what we all could do differently, go harder sooner. One says warehouse is sexy. I agree. I love warehousing, love industrial, right? My industrial peeps. So Christina, she said, I work in industrial and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm with you. It's awesome. Christopher C says, why CoStar? Do you want to elaborate on that? What the question?
Why CoStar? Okay, so CoStar, for anybody who doesn't know, is the commercial real estate MLS for all intensive purposes. They own the monopoly on looking up a property online. They own LoopNet, apartments.com, and pretty much the entire first page of commercial real estate Google. Now, it's really expensive, obnoxiously expensive. It's like, I don't know, $7,000. I pay like $7,000 for one subscription a year.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
But when I am working with CoStar, the biggest thing is going to be just like filtering with specific properties. I do not get that specific with comps. You don't have the ability to on Crexy or the other ones. Like I want to know like drive-in doors, multiple tenant or single tenant. Like there are just some things that I need to filter based on to get the best information that I haven't found elsewhere. 1, 2, you can extract emails from CoStar. It takes time and it's a ninja hack, but you can get really good information from CoStar. And it's in my, like, for data and extracting data, it's pretty cool, in my opinion. Specifically with those emails. DM me on Instagram. I'll show you how to get the emails off of CoStar.
I couldn't agree more. CoStar is it's more so, it's for me, and I'm sure you experience this as well, less so for promoting your properties and more so for that, just that raw data, comps and digging through market analytics. It's second to none. To your point, they have the monopoly on that. They've got better data than everybody, and they charge for it. So yeah. Silly question, but are you cold calling? Yeah, sorry. I should have let you respond.
No, you're good. And my cold calling, yes, but I do what I call the reverse cold call. And what the reverse cold call looks like this. Hey, owner of whatever product type, I have someone who wants to buy your property. Can I bring you an offer? That's the reverse cold call. And their answer to that question will, determine where they go in the CRM and the frequency of the call. But what people don't realize about commercial real estate is that you have a lot of buyers. You just don't realize they're your buyers. And if you go into the last year of deals, who's been buying the last year? Those are all your clients. Those people are not, I would say 98% of them are not loyal to a broker and they're buying. So if you can find them a deal, if you can figure out where to connect those people, you can do very well. So I like to reverse cold call. I've done the straight up cold calling. It's fun. Get kicked in the teeth all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's a strategy I use a lot. Is to reach out to those groups proactively and say, what are you looking for? What can I find for you? And now when you have that conversation with that seller, you're not lying. It's not like, hey, I'm just making something up. Like I've had actual conversations with people that say they want your type of property. So do you want an offer? And it works. Very cool. We went back old school. We went from the new age and we divulged back into cold calling, but hey, that's my realm. I love it. So, but
hey, there's a lot of real estate to go around. There's a lot of ways to make money in real estate, and there's a lot of ways to get leads, and there's no linear way to get there. So that's fun if you like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You had mentioned Twitter being a new, and I'm going to throw another question in here. You had mentioned Twitter being an up and coming, a place that people should be putting their attention right now. What about YouTube Shorts?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's when I say I put my ear to the ground, I see what people are talking about. People are talking about YouTube Shorts. It's given out some decent virality. The reality is the content you put on TikTok is the same as the content you put on Instagram, which is the same as you put on YouTube Shorts. Why? Short form video content. It's what we're doing right now. So if it's as simple as literally just saving the post and then reposting the same post to YouTube with a different title or whatever, it's a no-brainer because you already made the content and you got to be doing it. Look, here's one. YouTube is owned by Google. When somebody doesn't have a commercial real estate broker, what do? They go to YouTube. And what do they Google? Any iteration of commercial real estate broker in my town.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if YouTube is owned by Google, wouldn't it make sense to work together to put the videos onto YouTube that answer the questions that people are asking, so that when they do it and they do put, and then when they do Google it, and then YouTube is putting videos on the front page of Google now, you have just hacked the front page of Google. That's a really valuable place to be.
Absolutely.
In our industry.
Love it. Yeah. I got a list of homework that I have to do after this. So this has been good. So one of the final questions, do you reuse content? I think you just mentioned this. Do you reuse content across platforms?
Absolutely. We're in a weird time right now where a lot of our biggest platforms, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, it's all the same thing, short form video content. Even Facebook is doing more short form. So because of the nature of the beast in this moment, I can use the same content across platforms, but I cannot take a TikTok and post it to Twitter because those are different and it doesn't work well like that. Twitter has to be, the written, but what I could post on Twitter could be the same thing I post on LinkedIn. So it's about understanding what works on what platform and then reusing the content appropriately so that it works for you.
Yeah. One is
short form content. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. No, go ahead. Short form content, 2 to 3 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes. What's the best time frame there?
Short form content, honestly, 7 to 10 seconds for short form. And for what I would then call long form would be no more than 10 minutes. Okay, we'll say that's medium form. And then long form is no more than 30. But my goal is like 10-minute YouTubes and less than 10-second short form, unless I'm like really telling a story or something, then all bets are off.
Yeah. And is that just in the TikTok world and in the YouTube Shorts world, is that what the algorithm wants? Shorter videos, shorter the better, so people can just swipe. Is that what it is?
Well, if the metric is watch time, which it is, right? The metric that gives you more virality is watch time. So if it's a shorter watch time, you don't have to keep people there as long to hit a higher percentage. So if I have a minute video and I have 60% watch time, that means everybody's dropping off at, 40 seconds in, 35 seconds in. If I have a 10-second video and I get the same watch time, everybody is watching considerably more of the video.
Okay.
Because it's shorter. Oh yeah, just make it fast. People, no extra words. People have very short attention spans. Make it fast.
Yeah.
And valuable.
Absolutely. So Stelio said, I think I sneeze longer than 17 seconds. Yeah, that's probably pretty 7 to 10 is pretty quick. So the last question, and we'll let you get out of here. I appreciate your time so far, but any resources you like to use to learn more about CRE?
Any resource, Twitter, literally. I have been going onto Twitter asking real questions and getting unbelievable responses from qualified people across the world or across the country. It is so cool. I recently had a situation where a buyer wanted me to use their CRM. And I was like scratching my head being like, why am I using your CRM? That doesn't make sense. I should be using my CRM and you shouldn't be telling me how to do my job. And I went, but I couldn't ask my mentor because he's 75 and doesn't use a CRM. And so I went to Twitter and I asked them, I was like, guys, like, am I crazy? What's the deal? And I got amazing responses. And no, I should not use somebody else's CRM. I should use my own CRM.
That's awesome. Yeah. The answer to that would, yeah. There you go. That's awesome. I love that. That concept of posting just questions like that, because that's more engagement for you, I'm sure, because everybody's engaging and coming in. That's going to push you higher up on the in the algorithms, but also you're getting questions answered. So good stuff.
Bingo.
I keep saying one final question, but this one actually is interesting to me as well. So I want to throw it in there just in case. Any other thoughts on the Reddits of the world?
I won't knock them. Reddit's cool. I see nothing wrong with it. Small issue is you don't know who you're getting advice from on the other side. Like with Twitter, I can see who I'm getting advice from, go to their profile, go to their company, figure them out. With Reddit, it's like user 4. I just can't qualify those people as well. But sure, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That
Hey,
makes
John.
sense. Well, Aviva, I
Sorry,
really, no, you're good. You're good. Always making content. Love it. Love it. But Aviva, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody tuning in and sticking with me through my debacle here that was my internet. So I appreciate that. It's gonna be a fun edit for the team there. But appreciate it, everyone. Thank you for joining this edition of the CRE 101 Meetup Group. And yeah, Aviva, thank you. I think you put your handle in the chat, but if you want to let everybody know where they could find you real quick before we jump off here, that'd be great.
Yeah, guys, it was great to meet you all. I really appreciate your questions and your engagement. And I'm putting my @ in the comments, but it's @Aviva Real Estate. DM me and keep in touch. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me on all the social platforms. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.